Hello, you are tuning into Uneducated Guests with Josiah. I'm your host, Josiah. I'm a senior in high school that has to do a project, but didn't feel like looking anything up, so here I am. Today's topic is... Oh, crap, I forgot. Today's topic is American problems. So, I feel like American problems is just a wide enough genre of problem that I can go into it necessarily. I mean, I can go into like a single problem very detailed, but I feel like I can cover a mass spectrum of different things that Americans face. One of our one of our problems that used to be big. I mean, it might still be big, but let's be honest, I don't really think it is, was the Wall-E type situation, obesity. Obesity used to be a big issue when Obama and Michelle were in office, and Michelle was like, I don't want fat kids anymore, so I'm going to make their lunches like 500 calories and starve all the skinny kids like me. Yeah, it's awful. Like, our lunches have just gone to garbage. They're terrible. I've got some younger cousins in the elementary school, and they say their food's moldy half the time, but they go to a local magnet school, and their food is moldy 90% of the time, and it's their hot dogs are green, and a lot of their food is just inedible. And I think that's a problem, not necessarily with healthy eating. I get healthy eatings, right? But I feel like we shouldn't limit what we're serving our children, seeing as how they're growing. Okay, so I get there is a small percentage of fat people in schools, and childhood obesity is a problem, but we shouldn't try to make everyone suffer for that one minority of people, because I feel like, yeah, you don't want to single out anybody. Who cares? Like, my cousins are extremely overweight, and not overweight, Jesus. My cousins are extremely underweight, and they eat like, well, one of them eat like horses, one of them eats like a bird, and I think this public school system isn't helping in that. Like, a lot of small people, a lot of scrawny kids aren't getting the nutrition they need in like a school meal, because let's face it, it's generally phony meats, and it's disgusting. It's plain and simply disgusting. And I feel like that's a problem that we should honestly repeal in the American system. We should get rid of the healthy food program. And I also feel like the No Child Left Behind thing isn't really good anymore. Like, I feel like the standardized testing and all that fun stuff is just utter garbage. That's the problem I'm getting into now, just our education systems in general. But American education is literally garbage. I've learned more on the internet, and have taught myself a lot more. I've taught myself more skills than I've ever learned in school. Most of the stuff we learn in school, we're not going to remember. Like, I'm a senior now. I can't remember algebra. Like, the standardized way they taught it and everything, I can't remember 90% of the things I learned in school. It's also one of the reasons I don't know a single foreign language. I mean, yeah, I've learned bits and pieces, but I took Spanish from 1st to 7th grade, and I can speak in sentence fragments. And I get I've not always been the brightest student, but I feel as if our education system hadn't failed a lot of the students that it has, there would be a lot brighter, a lot more smarter young people out there who would help and promote a better economy and a better future whenever they're grown. But instead, the way public school systems groom and sheep our children, we've got a lot of kids that the public school system has just simply failed. I know a lot of people in my class, well, they were in my class till the public school system failed and they dropped out. I know a lot of kids that they don't care about school, and that's a problem also because their parents haven't raised them right, and they rather shoot at cops or do drugs. And it's just a problem that we see in everyday life where the school system and parenting isn't helping people enough, and parents don't know how to raise their children anymore, and they'll just let them roam wild doing whatever they want. And I feel like we should also beat our children because hell, if they're going to listen one way or the other, and if they're going to be disobedient and end up being criminals, what's wrong with beating your kids? Like, if they do something wrong. Like, I understand, like, physical abuse. I'm talking about, like, a spanking or something, not, like, beating the hell out of your children, smashing their head into a wall. Yeah, that's not fun. But, yeah, like, kids aren't disciplined, and the American society, the one we've grown up in, hasn't taught us how to live by ourselves or live properly, make a decent living without college, even with college. Most people don't know what they're doing in life. I joined the military to feel that kind of security because I don't know any other way I'm going to be able to pay for college. My parents won't be able to pay for my college because why would I want them to pay for my college when my mom's still paying off hers? She's got, not a doctorate, she's got a master's, I believe, in chemistry and sciences because she works stadium. She's I forgot what kind of chemist, but she works with fuels and different things like that. But she has a good job. She likes her job. She went to school. She makes about as much money as my stepdad now, though, and he sells phones at Verizon. Well, he used to actually make more than her when he sold phones at Verizon. Now he's a general manager. But yeah, he's a general manager at Verizon, and he makes almost as much as my mom, who's been a chemist for several years. I believe she finished college right around when I was 4 or 5. I feel like I turned out all right because I had a loving and understanding mom who knew how to raise me. Like, I get I'm not the smartest at times, but I feel like I've been raised pretty well over what I see in my peer groups and younger generations that I'm starting to see spawn up in elementary and all that stuff. I feel as if our American way of life is just priming and priming children to fail, and that's a major problem. But I feel as if another problem is not well, it has to do with the education system, but it also has to do with the people that are from the education system and out of it. It's just pure ignorance. I feel like ignorance is one of the biggest problems in America, and it plagues everyone. Like, no one's safe from ignorance. Everyone is ignorant to something, and that is a problem that we have. Because everyone thinks they know everything since they have the internet, and the internet never lies, right? Like, you're listening to a podcast about some guy rant on the internet right now, probably. And I have no idea what I'm talking about, but that's besides the point. Ignorance plagues everyone. You'll see it on the right, you'll see it on the left, in all politics. Everyone is ignorant to something, and that is a problem. You can be ignorant to problems, you can be ignorant to solutions, you can be ignorant to starvation, hunger, homelessness, you can be ignorant to education, you can be ignorant to how to raise your children, you can be ignorant on how to just live properly. And I'm saying the word ignorant because everyone's delightfully ignorant. You have the capacity to learn. You are not an idiot. You are not stupid. You are not incapable of becoming better and bettering yourself. You are just ignorant, as in you do not understand or you do not know what you can learn yet. I do have a problem with that. Like, I've had teachers telling me I would never amount to anything. In elementary, mind you, 7th grade, that's why I ended up switching schools, because I had one math teacher who basically told me I was worthless and would never amount to anything. But that's besides the point. If you tell a child he is an idiot, or if you tell a person they are ignorant, or not ignorant, if you tell a person they are stupid and they will never amount to anything, you are just proving, even as a teacher, especially as a teacher, if you do this as a teacher, you are proving the point that you are not fit to teach young minds. You are just absolutely despicable because you should be able to teach those young minds and shape them for the future and help them out along the way, no matter what it takes. Our youngest generations and our children are our future, and it's sick to see how some people will throw like quote unquote inner city people under the bus because they weren't raised properly, or they can't, or just people that are racist and just stupid. They're not even ignorant anymore. They're just blatantly racist and refuse to learn, so therefore they become stupid. They're like, oh, he's a young black man. He'll never amount to anything besides gangbanging or rapping. And that's really just how our society essentially works anymore. It's just on blatant racism, and it's awful. But the ignorance, people are just ignorant nowadays. They're not necessarily stupid, but then some of the older generations that have put down and said our generations are never going to amount to anything, they are the stupid ones, and they are helping keep the ignorance for our younger generations alive. Like, I saw an article, it said millennials are taking classes to help quote-unquote adult. Yes, and that really bothered me because the article is written by a lady in her mid-40s who, I don't blame her herself, but I blame that people would try to masquerade this as, oh, millennials don't know how to do anything. Well, of course they don't know how to do anything. They're ignorant because their older generations never taught them how to live by themselves or how to do simple tasks that should be taught at birth. Like, I know how to sew. I know how to do all these fun tasks to learn by myself because I was taught by my grandmother and my mother. But you see, a lot of people, they weren't taught how to live on their own and do simple tasks like that. And people call them stupid, or it's stupidity. No, it is ignorance. It's painful to watch people grow up ignorance, and their parents won't teach them any better, and they don't know any better. And it's just hard to see. But America needs to change with everything it's doing besides mass pollution. And I do have a problem with that. Pollution, I do know quite a bit about that, but that's so... America is like, oh, everyone's polluting. It's so bad. Well, yeah, pollution is bad, but it's not a concerning issue in the fact that... for the small time we have been on the planet, we have only put, let's say the Yellowstone volcano, the last eruption of it, about, I want to say, a little over half a billion years ago. Or no, 500,000 years ago. Sorry, not billion. Geez, that's bad math for me. But yeah, 500 million years ago, about 645 million or 645,000 or so years ago, it erupted, and it put, I want to say it was 13 trillion times the amount of pollutants in the air that the human race has done in their entire existence. That's one of my problems with the American race and society as a whole. We take a lot more credit for things than we should, like pollution, technological advancements. People are just prideful and don't understand when to quit taking credit. That's all the human race has ever been good at, is taking credit from others or taking credit from the Mother Nature or the environment. And it's just sickening how the human ego is so fragile that we would even take credit for destroying the world we live on rather than understand that mass extinctions and that kind of thing is a natural part of life. That's another American problem, is we have the brains that we have. We understand like there is a problem that destroys like the society of everyone as on a whole, but since it's on a whole and not self it we can only solve problems if they're contained small, like only happening to small groups of people or ourselves. We can't act as a society on the whole. The human brain has evolved for self importance and self protection, self preservation. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. We have self preserved so much that we take credit where credit's not due, and we don't understand how to raise anyone because we only do what's best for ourselves instead of what's best for our future and what's best for our younger generations. And the way we go about these American problems is we try to fix them, but we end up making them worse and worse, like the Industrial Revolution. That was the saving grace, the Industrial Revolution. We created so much technology, so many advancements, but we all simultaneously destroyed our planet. We are harming the ecosystem by throwing trash, and I get we do a lot to the environment that's damaging. Like, if we necessarily didn't cut down trees or anything, our environment probably could handle all the smog and all the pollutants in the air because the trees would just take them right out. But you see, we do all this damaging effects over and over in different areas. We are destroying the essentials of life as it is. And the American problems just, we need to train our younger societies, not our societies. We need to train our young minds and young generations. We need to give them the capable skills to fight off the problems and the destruction that the previous generations and current generations are doing. Everyone's destroying and destroying, but we need to start building better people, building better. We need to fix our environment. We need to stop all the destruction and start spreading more or less good vibes, positivity. We need to start cleaning our act up. We need to stop destroying everything and start rebuilding what our planet should be, and we need to coexist with society. And I haven't even touched on the problem of our politics. Just a second, I'm going to stop my timer and just go on. But okay, so we have a crumbling political system. We have two sides of a coin, basically raising arms at each other and fighting. We've got the far right, the far left, but most people fall in the quote unquote middle. But the entire spectrum is flipped upside down and smashed and lit on fire. The American people, the political systems, are nothing. The only true people that have ever been in power is the rich and the powerful families. We saw this with the USSR and communism. Communism would have worked theoretically, but it didn't work because the only true people that were in charge was not the government, but it was the rich. They were getting richer, and they did not truly help their people. Like, it should have been ours, and everything should have been shared equally, but the rich will always tax the system and find advantages, especially in the American society. The people don't make the rules. The rich people bribe the lawmakers and get what they want passed and are able to do so much destruction. And everyone's got a problem with Donald Trump. But yes, he's had a government shutdown, but that's not even necessarily the problem. The problem is you guys are avoiding all the problems by focusing on the president. Yeah, presidents. Yes, it happens. But the president isn't the problem. You could give two shits less about the president. Nothing happens in the government. Like, the president you can literally you don't need the president to pass laws and things like that. The problem is the people are turning a blind eye to all the things that's going on behind their backs, like the backdoor deals and the government just doing whatever they want. The president doesn't even need to be there for bills to get passed. Bills can still pass, and they can just reintroduce them. They don't even need the president's signature for certain things. And people don't realize that the rich people, the strong people in the government systems are always going to be in charge because that's how it's been for a long time. The older people, like, think about it. How many times have the same people been in our Congress, in our Senate, in our House of Representatives? The older generations have been taking over and destroying us slowly or slower and slower, and no one seems to mind that the majority of people are the quote-unquote white males that the feminists shout at and holler, but they are not willing to get political and change, like Antifa and people like that. They are quote-unquote radicalized groups. They're just being complete asses. If, like, say what Hitler did, like, yeah, okay, I'm just pointing out his political strategy. If you want change, you have to make that change. Yes, there's two political parties that are the main parties. That does not stop people from rising and trying to introduce a new party. If you get the public support and public backing, the government cannot stop you. You can rise to the occasion and bring your own political party to, let's say, the acquisition to power, and you can make the changes that the people need. It's hard to see, but everyone's like, whenever you're a kid, you want to be like something goofy, probably like a firefighter, nurse, superhero, president. It's unrealistic. What you should teach your kids is you shouldn't care what you want to be. You should just want to be the change, the betterment in society. Firefighters and nurses, these are all important, but the real importance is the change you want to make in your society, the betterment of the people you want to be. You have to want to fight for what's right. But yes, you have to go on and on. You can't give up when your cars are down. You have to fight and stand for what you believe in. You cannot just give up and just say, "Oh, that sucks." You can't. The American system, you can't violently protest and expect change. You can expect martial law, which that's a change, but not a fun one. But you should, if people want the change they so crying out for, they shouldn't rally and riot and all this. They should start a political movement start a party, and you can get your people elected into the Congresses, the Senate, the House of Representatives. You can get your people elected into the presidency. You just have to be the change that the world needs. And it's hard to see. The American people are just slowly taking it and letting them get destroyed over and over. And it's painful on how our society has become so blinded and so trusting. Everyone's, oh, yes, we don't like the government. We want to fight back. But they're all sheep. They don't realize that they can be changed. They try to be the change that they want to be, but they realize nothing they do matters. And that's the true strength of it. Nothing they do will ever matter unless they do it and play by the rules and build their government alliances and join. They need the people's support. They need all of the people's, not just a small 10%, because that's not how you get political change. Hitler had all of Germany transcended and basically naive. He had an entire country controlled because he wanted change. and he knew exactly how to do it. If you want change, you have to know how to do it. You have to get people's support. You have to rally. You have to be peaceful. You can't just go about burning government buildings down and rioting in the streets and looting buildings. Yes, that sounds fun, but it's not how you get a political movement started. You need to have people support you, and you need to have people join in your cause, and you need to have a cause worth fighting for and dying for. That is the only way we will ever have change, is if you fight. And it's just hard seeing the American society and the American government crumble under people that don't understand how to get the change they so willingly and so eagerly want, because they don't understand how to stand up for what they believe in, besides signing worthless petitions and not understanding that you need a majority of the people's support and you need a cause worth fighting for. I will be back with the facts momentarily, because this is all I have for this time. Elevator music, start. Hey guys, I'm back after your scheduled commercial break. So I did some research, obviously, on the topic of American problems, and I started with obesity, I believe, and the problems that have arisen increasingly from it. But almost 40% of adults and 19% of youth are considered obese, and that's obviously, they all have health problems and consequences because of that. And there's also, I will give you the link, or not give you the links. I'll tell you what sites I got these articles from. Well, the information I used from these articles. Yeah, you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say. But this one article said, addressing obesity can be tricky as we blame and shame ourselves and others. Now, I don't necessarily say bullying and that kind of stuff is right, because it's obviously not. I mean, it'll toughen up a kid. But I feel as if you can, so they're trying to say you're healthy at every size, which just isn't right. There's been a lot of feminist movements from the third wave feminism, which I don't necessarily agree with. I mean, I agree with the ideology of the original feminism and even second wave feminism, but the third wave feminism is just about taking over. Just taking over, basically. That's why, Antifa and them are just all a joke. Far left, far right, everyone's just a joke anymore. But I feel as if you can, make someone feel bad enough to want change, then it's not necessarily an evil thing to do. But the estimated annual medical cost of obesity in the United States was $147 billion US. That's a ridiculous amount that the U.S. government is taking from its people for medical care. Which, I mean, they did bring it upon themselves, but even if they didn't, because some people can't help being obese. I've known, I learned about this this weekend. An old friend of mine, she was been obese his entire life, and they found him, his parents found him after buying him groceries because he couldn't leave his house anymore. He had died of natural causes. So obesity, it brings a certain health problems that will eventually cause the person that suffers from them death. And people have tried to say, oh, you're healthy at every size, but you are not healthy at every size. I can talk about this because I'm extremely small and I'm still not very healthy. I'm right on the edge of being underweight for my height. I am 5'4" and 112 pounds, which I've been trying to gain weight, which is very hard for me. And I get it's also the same way with people that are extremely overweight. It's hard for them to lose the weight, which everyone's got that problem. Everyone differs. Like, my problem's gaining weight, other people's problems are losing weight. It's just a vicious cycle that people's bodies differ like that. But the medical cost for people who have obesity was $1,429 US dollars higher than those of normal weight, which that might not seem significant, but think about it. Almost $1,500. That's a pretty. It's like 2 months rent right there. I think we went over buying a house, not apartments, so don't quote me on that. But I also went over our education system and how Michelle Obama basically enforced these food rules. But one thing with the like No Child Left Behind, so it standardized all testing and that kind of fun stuff. But test performance is now tied to both school funding and the evaluation of teachers and administrators. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, yes, the teachers and administrators should be evaluated, obviously, but a standardized test, most students in public schools take that as a joke, at least where I'm from. People don't care because you literally get around a 400 no matter what you put in. You can guess every single thing C, and you can get like around a 400 for not ISATs. There are certain testings. They're for 2 for reading and 1 for math, I believe, or is it 2 for math? Well, it's for math and reading basically, and it's a standardized test, and it sucks. I've been doing them since elementary and grade school, and I do not approve of them. I just think there's this quote from Albert Einstein: if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its entire life thinking it is stupid. And that is an amazing quote by Albert Einstein. I can't remember if I said that just a second ago, but that's how our education system is. You will judge a fish by climbing a tree, and it's a very great analogy for what our education system has become. It's just prepping and training children like dogs to obey orders and to be a hive mind of sorts. And I'm going to paraphrase another quote from an article, and I'll tell you the sites in the end. The most important goal of an education is the set of skills and the capabilities of thinking and problem solving that a student requires. The greatest advances in science and society have come about because of the unique backgrounds and approaches the greatest minds in history possessed and utilized. If our goal is societal stagnation, then that's the path we are on. We need to encourage creativity and excellence not only in our students but in our educators as well. And I feel as if that is an amazing quote. Or not quote, it's just an article written about it, but it's true. You need to if you encourage creativity and excellence, and then everyone will be unique and have their different ways of solving problems and be able to do and better and help more people, which is very good. And there was the school foods that I was talking about. There is this movement. It was published in 2013. This article was. It was the NPR.org, National Public Radio.org, called The Salt, and it was published in 2013. This is what America's school lunches really look like. And I went through it. It's got a lot of photos of students' school lunches that are either very disgusting and horrible looking, or maybe they're healthy and actually good. But the horrible foods I have seen, and it's a train wreck how public schools get their unproportionate funding throughout every state, and they decide that, these schools, they're from the inner city or something like that, their test scores aren't that good, we're going to give them outdated textbooks, worse food, less funding. And so the teachers can't teach their children the importance with outdated information and textbooks, and I think that's ridiculous. I also went over in my earlier section of this about how do you make change. The number one thing is to make your voice heard. And with the internet, you can have, well, a podcast like this one. You can have a blog. You can have a political page. You can start a group, a movement, and you can have people that support you and that you can have help your cause, which is always great. The internet helps like-minded people get in contact, whether that be for the worst or for the best. It will help you in the end better your political movement, better your just any movement at all you want to help gain traction and help better people's lives. The internet will help you. It could also hinder you, though, but you have to know how to use the internet for your advantage. So one of these sites I used was cdc.gov, obesity data, adult.html, which that's just something else. Forbes.com, I used an article off there, starts with a bang. It was published in 2017, How America is Breaking Public Education. And I also used chicagohealthonline.com, America's Obesity Problem. I only used those three sites roughly for this information, and from just other teachers and sources from students in the education system and administrators, obviously, from different schools I've talked to in the past and current. But this is all for this episode, so I will see you guys next time on episode 5.